Hey YouTube, it's me, that guy that you're starting to watch covers of. Anyway, I thought you'd all like to see it because we all like gear, we're all kind of nerdy with this stuff. So, there you go. There you go. And there you go. That's my stuff. See ya. No, just kidding. I'm going to go through it all. So, first guy you saw was my super favorite amp, my Crate Blue Voodoo 150 watt head. Now, this thing is loud. It's all tube. You have six 6L6 power tubes and 7 12AX7 tubes. Now, I customized the shit out of all the tubes. So, the power tubes are all groove tubes, 6L6s, and now the preamp section is what really is special. And it really replicates the Mark II C+, Mark III kind of tone. I can even get a little Mark IV out of this guy if I really push it hard. Now, each different preamp tubes. Now you only see there's 8 preamp tubes. You only see 7 in the front here. There's one in the back, which is kind of that one special one. You know, it's a little sugar, extra little spice. Now, they're tongue soles, each and every one of them. They're all different models of 12AX7s though. They're all made in a different country. Some are from Russia, some are from China, some Japan, some from here in the good old US. But that's how I get my tone. So no one else can have this tone unless obviously I give them this amp. Now, okay Dan, how much was it? I got it for $0 because one of my buddies was super cool because he has 2 of the 120 watt versions and he's like, all right, bud, well, you have a Marshall, and that's not really metal, so I'll give you this. I was like, hell yeah, man. Now, these really aren't particularly, expensive if you can find them. I know there's a couple on GuitarCenter.com that are used for, $300. So if you can, get one. If you see that orange glow, there's some LEDs. They come with it. Now, let's go through all the controls. Oh, and by the way, going through a Marshall cab. It's a 1960A lead cab. Nice Celestine vintage 30s in there. Starting off with the clean channel. Over here you have the green light. Second channel, yellow. Third channel, red. You have a loop button, which is a bright blue. There's also a foot controller, which is that pretty guy. Now, let's go back to the clean channel. Now this is all the same for each one except this frequency knob. This is really important, not so much for the cleans, but for your channel 3. Now, gain, because I use active pickups, they're going to have a higher output. Yes, I do have a Gibson Les Paul with passive, so I will adjust the gain depending on the guitar. I have the gain set pretty low right now at about, say, 1030. Now, this middle knob is your frequency. We have 300 all the way to the left, 700 as the second to the left. In the middle, we have 1K. Second to the right, we have 1.5K, and all the way to the right, we have 3K. Now, these are just frequencies. This changes your bass response, treble response, and mid-cut and whatnot. You hear it a little bit on the clean sound, but you hear a freaking drastic difference on channel 3 and channel 2. Really big importance. But since I love my big bassy Fender cleans and it dries up and it kind of dampens up when I put on my chorus for, songs like One, Harvester of Sorrow, all them good ones. All that chorus kind of draws out some of the bass and it makes it kind of thin and raspy, which is that kind of JC 120 from Roland, that chorus amp that they use. So, let's go through my settings. Bass, I have pretty high. Because again, it gets cut out from that chorus pedal, which I use. I have it on about 2 o'clock. My mids, I don't have them scooped out. I like my cleans to have a little kind of, that mid-range. It's kind of hard to explain what mid-range really is, but, well, it's mid-range. Kind of find it out for yourself, and it depends. The Marshall that I'm about to show you in a little bit has a lot more mid-range than this guy, even though this does have a ton of mid-range to it. Marshalls are just, the Marshall mid-range. That's the double M's. So my mid-range is at about 11 o'clock. Not quite 12, but again, depending on the guitar, I will change the mids. The bass and the treble usually stay the same. My treble I have at 230, pretty high. Then again, I want my noise to cut through when I use my mic. That's channel 1. It's pretty simple. Channel 2, I don't use that often on this amp. I have a Marshall. That's like the staple of like all crunch tones, AC/DC, that brown tone, Iron Maiden, whatnot. I actually call channel 2 the poor man's Iron Maiden tone because it's pretty fucking bad. This amp is not meant for this. It's not, I can get a decent tone out of it, but only decent. I'd rather use my Marshall. I'll just use an ABY switch for something, to go from my searing high gain down to my crunch down to my cleans. My cleans and my high gain, I use this bad boy, and my crunch and my little 70s, early 80s kind of rocky tones, I use my Marshall, which I will show you in a second. And by the way, both heads are going through the same cabs. I just have my Marshall sitting on the crate cab, which is not that good. I'm going to re-speaker that. I might do a little modifications, maybe leave it as an open back, which would be cool. But I will do something to it so I can have both cabs being used. But that is also, when I do use it, it's going through the same cab that this guy is going through. So, channel 2. Oh, by the way, for channel 1, right now I have my volume at 9 o'clock, only because I usually like it higher, only because it starts to clip the mic out. And I like to keep my volume on the mic about halfway, just at a moderate setting. I don't like to usually change that unless I really have to play loud for some reason. But, now, we're getting a little gainy territory, so with channel 2, I do turn the volume up a lot more. It starts to get the power section involved, which then gives you a better tune. Low volumes, it's the worst thing you ever hear. I hate this channel. I don't use it that much unless I have it high volume. But, gain, 12 o'clock. The frequency here is at 750. All right, so from left to right, I don't know what this really means. All the way to the left on the middle slider here, or on the knob, it says off. Now, if you guys can give me an answer, I would appreciate that. Comments below. Goes off 250, 500, 750, and 1K. I had it set to 750, not because 1K is the brightest kind of super powerful tone, but it's kind of in the middle. And at 500, it's more of a mid-range scoop anyway, so I don't want that. Now, volume is, again, at 9 o'clock just because of volume tones. But again, I won't use this. So, treble, 12 o'clock. Mids, 12 o'clock. Bass, 12 o'clock. This channel sounds best when everything's kind of factory standard, you know what I'm saying? So now, that's cleared out of the way. I hate this channel, so I want to get over this. This guy is my favorite thing. I literally played a dual rec the other day, and from Mesa, and I still like this better. And I know you're, oh, well, that's opinionated because it's your amp. No, this thing is badass, I promise you. Gain, 9 o'clock. No, my bad, 3 o'clock. That's a little high. Nah, I don't think so. When you put it all the way up, yeah, that's high. It starts to get muddy, but this amp is super tight, so you can get that little more gain. Everyone thinks Metallica did not have that high of gain. Nowadays, the James uses the Diesel VH4. He doesn't have a lot of gain. Back in the Justice days, he had a lot more gain. This is about what he had. So 3 o'clock on the gain. Now, on the frequency knob, it goes from left 10K to right 8K, 6K, 4K, and 2K. 10K is a little dark for me, 6K is a little bright, and so on. So I like to keep it at 8K, and it sounds literally perfect. And you'll see that in the demo later on when I'll be testing all the sliders. Again, volume's at 9 o'clock just for recording purposes. It still sounds good. I could always adjust gain on whatever program I'm going through, Audacity in this case. Treble is at 230. This is my recording settings. I have it different for when I'm just playing loudly in my garage. Treble is at 230. Mids are not cut out all the way. Never, 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 never. Metallica scooped the shit out of the mids. This is a mid-rangey amp. The Mark II C Plus was mid-rangey, but not like this. The Marshall's even more mid-rangey. So, no, I'm sorry, I'm ass backwards. This is not a mid-rangey amp. The Mark II C Plus was very mid-rangey, so they cut more mids out, with the graphic EQ that's built in, and they scoop the shit out of the mids out on the amp. I'm at 9 o'clock, anywhere from 9 to 11 o'clock, depending on what guitar I'm using. With active pickups, I'm at 9 o'clock. With passive pickups, since they're a little darker in my opinion, I'm at 11 o'clock, just to brighten it up a little bit. And bass in this case is at 11:30, just because too much bass. This amp has a shit ton of bass because of the headroom. Will clip the mic, so I don't want to be doing that. Those are my settings. So again, bass 11:30, mid 9 o'clock, treble 3 o'clock, gain 3 o'clock, treble's 230 to 3 o'clock. And level is at, or volume is at 9 o'clock. Now, see this loop button? I don't use an effects loop. What I do is I can use this as a volume boost because this changes tone, not at all. What I'm doing is I'm putting just a dummy cable in the back, and on the foot switch there's a loop pedal. And there's a loop volume on the back of the amp. So I turn that up just a little bit. So when I'm soloing, I'll kick that in so I can be cut or heard through the mix a little more when I'm playing live. Now, these two knobs right here are not loop level. They're on the back of the amp. These are the two presence knobs. Usually we only have one. But what they did is they separated the high end from the low end and put it in two different knobs. Now the top knob says eek, like a screech, and the bottom one says like a deep, kind of like you got punched in the stomach. Ouch. When you make that noise, it's a little lower. Eek is a little higher pitched. So obviously eek is higher frequency, so your high end, and the bottom one is your low end. It makes sense. High end, low end, because this one's higher than the lower one. Ta-da! Now, I have this at 3 o'clock and this at 3 o'clock. These always correspond for each other. So say if I move this to 12, that's going to 12. I never leave one where it is, and I never change them. But I'm anywhere. I never put this all the way to 12 o'clock. Or, all the way full. Always at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock for both of them. This, the bass end, I usually don't touch these. I usually don't. 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock for both of these. The bass end doesn't do a lot, really. You hear the difference, but that's only when you screw with the high end. So, that is the Crate Blue Voodoo 150 watt head going through a Marshall 1960A lead cab. Take a walk around back. Some Dunlop strings. I usually don't use them. I use Ernie balls, by the way. Cobalt Power Slinky. Hi, guys. Okay. Now, here. Let's get a good position. This is a twisty tie. I don't know why that's on there. I usually just keep those to mark things. This is the input for the foot switch right here, this guy. And then these 4 inputs are for external foot switches. This guy right here, and these 4 are your speaker outputs. You have 4, 8, and 16 ohms. Excuse me, ohms. I get yelled at for that a lot. This knob right here and this input are the slave. This is your level. You just keep that down because I usually don't slave and amp out. Now, this is your effects loop. See, I have my dummy cord. I don't have anything on here. It's just a dummy cable. I have my volume for my send, flat, and this is flat. I don't have the knobs. I'm going to buy a couple cool ones. I have it on parallel circuit because that's just the way I like it. Plus, I don't have any pedals, so it really doesn't matter. Unbalance, and then all the way over here is your power cable, and that's about it. I'm going 16 ohms mono into this cab, and that's it for the crates.